the biggest questions we get on a regular basis whenever we write about this movie, besides, first is like tone questions, and then it's like mythos inquiries. But the third question we always get is casting inquiries.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if you're aware, but there are a lot of fans, some fans, that have had casting issues with Soka Katara and the Fire Nation.
Right.
And I was wondering if you could finally address those questions and those fans that are concerned about the casting.
Right. Well, here's the thing. You know, when I saw... The great thing about anime is that it's ambiguous. You know, the features of the characters are an intentional mix of all features. It's intended to be ambiguous. That's completely its point. And so when we watch Katara, my oldest daughter is literally like a photo double of Katara in the cartoon. She's a photo double. So that means that Katara is Indian, correct? So, but no, that's just in our house, right? And her friends who watch it, they see themselves in it, and that's what's so beautiful about anime. And so when we were casting, I was like, you know, I don't care who walks through my door. We're just, whoever's the best for the parts, I'm gonna figure it out based on that in a chess game. And, you know, ideally we'd separate the nations ethnically, ideally. That would be but I don't know how and what it's going to be. And it was so fluid, and as the and really, for example, like, if you found a great brother, but he didn't go with my favorite, you know, Katara, then I couldn't use him. Like that, theoretical things like that would happen. Or, you know, like there was an Aang that I really loved, but he was like 5'10", you know, and he was, you know, there's all kinds of issues that come to the table physically. And I kept having a board of like all the people that I was considering, the 7 or 8 over here. Like there was one time I think their background was, one was Chinese, Ahsoka and Katara, and they were over here, and I was like, well, you know, one of them was a better actor than the other, and so I was like, you know, gathering my pros and cons and saying, let's say that was that, and what would the Fire Nation be? And you just, you know, do that, but being without agenda, letting it come to the table. So when, you know, Noah's like a photo double for the cartoon. I mean, he's literally spot on. So I was like, and to me, Noah, like, the best part is I didn't really know their backgrounds, and so I was like, Noah for me has a slightly mixed quality look to him, so I cast the Airbenders as all mixed race. So they were all people that are so when you see the monks and all that stuff, they're all mixed. And it kind of goes with the nomadic culture that over the years, you know, all different nationalities came to the table. And then what ended up happening on the Fire Nation was the most complicated, because I kept switching who was playing Zuko, and it was like such a complicated and drawn out thing about practical matters. But actually the first person that I was considering for Zuko was Akori. And so I was like, okay, well maybe that will be the part. So I started thinking that way. And then when that person couldn't do it, then the second person who came in was much more Caucasian. And then I was like, okay, well then we have to switch another. You know, it was like I had, all right, now how are we doing this? And what is the Earth Nation was always the issue, because the second would be so dominated by that group, and it will represent most of the movie. So, but has a small part in the first movie. So that was important. Again, we're thinking of it as a long form part. And it just kind of came into being as it started to distill, and then Dev came into the picture. Dev was really early on. He had auditioned for me, and he auditioned for me in London. And, you know, he's kind of like a sweet guy. And I was like, huh, but he did such a great reading. And I was like, I always go for the actor. You know, like I always go for the actor. You know, when I was doing Sixth Sense, you literally read the script of Sixth Sense. Dark hair, he had black eyes. I always pictured the kid from Searching for Bobby Fischer as the lead of Sixth Sense. And I was like, we are not hiring any blonde LA kids, okay? Don't even bring them in. Haley came in, you got the part. And I was like, you know, I'm like, we'll figure this out. How can you not have him play this part? And so that's always been my lean is I have hopes of what I want them to be. My hope was that the movie would be incredibly diverse. Like, you know, when we look back on the 3 movies, that without peer, it was the most diverse movies of all time. And that is the case when you look at it, when you watch the movies. It's just like and it's not like an agenda like when you see like a picture of a kid's school and they have, you know, the swings and it's like, it's not like that. It's a real thing, like, this nation has this ethnicity, and when we go deep into that culture, we'll see more and more of that. So in the end, when Dev ended up being my choice for Zuko, I looked for an uncle that could be in that realm, and for a moment there I thought about like Ben Kingsley and that kind of thing, and Sean, who loved him in Iron Man, Sean too, just loved him in Iron Man, and I was like, wow, this takes us into a kind of Mediterranean kind of Arab and Indian world. I can go as far as that. Like that would be the breadth of, I said, and that's the Fire Nation kind of that kind of look. And then we would go over, and like for me, Nicola, for me, had got a lot of Russian qualities and European Russian qualities. So I was like, okay, that's what we're gonna go here, over here, and just like that, whoever I ended up with, I went, that's their nationality, and then Suki was Jessica, who's a mix of Filipino, and so I was like, okay, now, the Earth Kingdom is going to be all Asian, so Toph now will have to be, Asian like that, and so there, it suddenly became, and then I looked at the board and I was like, this works for me. This works, I represent everyone, and there's a section of the Earth Kingdom that's African American. So, because it's such a big country, such a big land, I felt like you could have some diversity in there as they travel through the different cities there. So, more so than the show, it'll even have a much more diverse ethnic background to it. And so, something that it's not an agenda for me, but something I'm super proud of, that when my kids look at it, or any kids look at it, they'll see themselves in the movie. Yeah.